And we're gonna talk about all that.
Surprisingly, I got a 4.
How?
Huh? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How?
Because of
The curve.
Oh.
Relax.
Yes. Well, here's the problem with education in Florida. Education in Florida is this. That I'm gonna say out loud is the education. Actually, education anywhere is pretty bad. In America, it's pretty bad. The problem is most of the people. All you need is roughly get 43% correct on your EOC to get a 5.
Dang. Wait, I probably got like a 2.
Because the test score is so low, they have to curve it. If they don't curve it, that means 99% fail rate, right?
Wow.
And then so they don't want to embarrass themselves. They spend however $1 billion for this testing system, and they just find out all the students are incapable. So what they do is they just said 43% is a 5, and say 35% is a 4. 35% correct to get a 4, and now rate 28% to get a 3.
But 28% is like 5, 7 questions.
Yeah,
right?
it's like score a 28 on my test. So pretty much everybody would have passed that test if you have Algebra 1 with me. I mean, even you got 43%, you probably get a 5. So I have taught before. Now it's not a good comparison, but I taught geometry in Algebra 2, and all the geometry. I have 100% pass rate. Like I have nobody fail. Like if you go into my class, you fail my class, like you got 10 percentile in my class, you actually pass that with a 4 and 5. So that just kind of tell you that our education system is kind of like, they just lie to people and says, oh yeah, we have all those people pass the EOC, but the truth is, none of you guys should have passed, and none of you guys should have done good on the videos, on the things. So
That's crazy.
I think I just live streamed that, so I might get myself fired. Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
well. I honestly don't give.
You don't give
Damn.
what? You don't give what?
Huh?
You don't give what?
You better stop yourself.
Don't give shit.
I love to want to go back and watch this video now.
Honestly, if you want to go back taking all my videos, I'll be gone by tomorrow.
I look at your videos, look at you making fun of me, it's really funny.
But I think you're gonna miss me, don't Nicholas?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Okay,
you know.
so
It's okay.
so we're gonna solve. We already learned how to solve linear. We already solved linear system, linear equation. Okay, so for example, n inequality. So the example of that's going to be 2x minus 1 over 4 minus 6x plus 1 over 3. That's less than 12. And we learn how to use the interval notation. We know how to graph it. So linear equation inequality, we already know how to do this. Although this is like a fraction, we know how to get rid of fractions, right?
Yeah.
Multiply both sides by what?
12.
12. And that's going to be 3 times 3x, 2x minus 1, make sure parenthesis, 4 times 6x plus 1, and then it's equal to 12 times 12 is 144. And you solve that linear equation, you're going to get a linear equality. You know how to graph it, you know how to use interval notation, which is something to the infinity, something like that. The second things that we learn is the absolute equation and inequality. Okay, so it looks like this, 3 times x minus 1 is less than, I don't know, 11. So we can solve the system of this inequality. So sometimes it's like something is joined or split. So interval notation, you might have 2 different interval notation. So your test questions are look exactly like this. Okay, so, and your SAT as well, that's gonna look like this. We learn how to solve quadratic with factoring. So that means x squared minus x is equal to 6. I move the 6 over, I factor it, I solve each individual one. You did that yesterday, even with the radicals. So we learn how to solve like higher things. So for example, 4x to the cube is equal to x. You move the x over, you factor out x, and then you use different square, you can factor more. So this is solve higher degrees. So solve higher degrees equations. So on your test, basically you're gonna get this. I mean, if you understand this full question, guess what? You already probably scored 30 points on the test already. So 5. And you might have something about radicals. So we learned how to solve radical equations. So yesterday we did a radical equation. Give me an example of a radical equation. So that 1, 2x. So radical equation. Okay, radical equation. So probably can be this one. So it's like 2x minus 3 is equal to 3 minus x. So those are radical equation. You just have to find a way to get rid of radical, and you can solve for it. Got it? So 6. What are we gonna talk about today? Today is gonna be square equations.
Square?
Instead of square root equation, it's gonna be square equations. And the 7 may be called rational exponent equation. So we're gonna talk about those two things today. But on your SAT, before the SAT day, I want to cover 8, solve literal equation.
SAT is next Wednesday.
Yep. And the solve system equation. So solve system equation. So ideally, I want you, hopefully you can work with me, is give me your old PSAT score. And we're gonna record down all the score by person individually. We're gonna use student ID so nobody can see each other. But we're gonna see if we improve on this PSAT and last SAT. So ideally is I wanna do a study for myself. So hopefully you guys can work with me, give you your old PSAT score, go Khan Academy, look it up, and record down the score for me, and we're gonna see if the score go up and how much it go up. Ideally, if we cover those things right here, and we cover whatever the first 9 week cover, we should have the score increase by 100 to 150 points if you understand everything. I don't know if it's gonna be true, but I wanna see if it's true. So hopefully you can work with me. Yes?
You went the whole score or just the math score?
I don't give a damn about your reading score. Just the math score. Yeah. So, because I mean, I'm not a reading teacher. I can't really increase your reading score. I mean, maybe in Chinese I can, but not in English reading. My score is pretty low. My score is like 380. It's pretty sad. But,
For reading?
yeah, mine was really bad.
How long does it take to get our SAT score?
I don't know. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about what is square equation. Square equation look like this. Square equation look like I don't know, 2x plus 2 square minus what is equal to 15. We can do 15 or 31. 31. Okay, so I think that's very close to that one. So
You square root that. Can you?
not yet.
Oh, okay.
But before we do that, we need to understand something first. Before we do this, we need to understand something. So we are right here. We are solving square equation. So, but before we do that, we gotta be able to do this though. X squared is equal to, so let's write on the side. X squared is equal to 9. Okay. Okay, x squared equal to 9. How do I solve x squared equal to 9? What do you think the answer is?
3.
Just square root it to square root it.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't x equal 3?
so all the people that just spoke, all the people is gonna fail except one person. If you pay attention to what people says. X squared equal to 9, what is x?
I'm scared to speak.
Square root, so square root of 9 is what?
3.
3, you would have failed, Jose. There you go, there was a plus and negative 3. So make sure when you square root both sides, right? You're gonna get plus minus square root of 9. So you square, so I'm gonna write down. If you square root x squared, that's good, square root of 9. But when you do even roots, any even roots, so it could be square root, could be 4th roots, could be 6th root, could be 8th root, could be 10 roots. If you do even roots of both sides, you should get plus minus. You should get plus minus. Now, if you just get plus 9, plus 3, then your answer is going to be completely 0 credit for the test. So you have to understand that. So now we're going to learn this and we're going to apply to these questions. Okay? So how do I apply to this question? I need to isolate the square functions here. How do I isolate? Add 1, good. So I'm going to add 1 on both sides. So that's going to be 32, right? So that's going to be 2 times x plus 2 squared. That's equal to 32. What do I do next? Divided by 2. So if I divide by 2, that's going to be x plus 2 squared. That's equal to 16. And then I'm going to square root both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I square root both sides, what can I not forget? You have to include in that plus minus. And that's why I'm going to color code for you. So it'll be x plus 2 square root, and I'm going to square root 16. But don't forget about this plus minus. Don't forget. Forget. If you forget, it's automatic 0. Regardless of what happened you did afterwards. So now this is going to cancel out. That's going to be x plus 2 is equal to plus minus 4. Well, what does that mean? That means it can be plus 4 or negative 4. So you're going to do a 2 routes. So you're going to say x plus 2 is equal to 4. X plus 2 is equal to negative 4. I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. X equal to what? 2. And the x is equal to what? Negative 6. So this is the answer. Now some people probably says, Mr. Yi, I have a different way to do these questions. What would be the second way to do these questions? If I start already beginning. Well, when I get to here, I probably can expand the x plus 2. Yeah, so it's going to be x squared plus 4x plus 4, and you move the 16th over and you factor it, you're going to get exact same answer as before, but except sometimes it doesn't work that way. Okay, we're going to show you a question that it might not work. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not hard. Then we say, let's go into the second questions. We're going to ask you to do a little bit harder question than this one. Again, you have to use whatever you learned before. So sometimes you might need to simplify the radicals. So if I have, I'm going to start with the first one. So the first one says we're going to have a 2x minus 1 squared plus 2, that's equal to 62, that's going to mean 66. So that's the first questions. Now the second question I'm going to ask you is a little bit harder. It says probably x plus 4, 2x plus 5, 2 that square minus 5 is equal to 75. So how do I solve this equation? Now remember, you still have to deal with radical. You still have to learn how to deal with that. And later on, you're gonna have to deal with the I as well. So let's try the two questions, see if you can get the answer correctly. The second one is a little bit combination of what we did before. So you gotta make sure you can do stuff from before, like simplify a radical. Should be able to be done about the first one by now. And probably should start on the second one. George, wake up. Start from the first one. 2x minus 1 squared plus 2 is equal to 66. What do I do first? Subtract 2, right? So it'll be 2x minus 1 squared is equal to 64. What do I do next?
Square root it.
Okay, so square root both sides. And I'm gonna get what?
Plus or minus 60.
Don't forget about a plus minus, right?
Yeah.
I write in red, so that means people are usually gonna forget. Even my calculus student forget. What do you think that's gonna happen to you? You are gonna probably forget as well. So it'll be 2x minus 1. And then you know it's 2x minus 1 is equal to 8. 2x minus 1 is equal to negative 8, right? Yeah, because you got plus of 8 equal to negative 8.
I did it wrong.
You said
It's alright though.
Plus 1 on both sides, so it's going to be 2x is equal to what? 9. 2x is equal to what?
-7.
Negative 7. And if you divide by 2 on both sides, x equal to 9 over 2. X is equal to negative 7 over 2. So those are the two answers. And you say, oh, okay, that's something I think I can do. It's not that bad. You just have to know how to manage all those things. Question about this part. The next one is a little bit harder because you had to simplify radicals. And you had to be able to simplify all the way. So what I do here, I'm gonna say plus 5, right? I'm gonna get 2x plus 5 squared, that's equal to what? 80. And I'm gonna square root that, 2x plus 5. If I square root of 80, what am I forgetting here?
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus.
Don't forget that, because you do even roots for the both sides. That's gonna give me that. So that's gonna be 2x plus 5 equal to square root 80 plus minus.
Oh.
But 80, you're gonna be simplify. 2, 40, 2, 20, 2, 10, 2, 5, right? You can take out how many 2's?
4.
4's, so it'll be 2x plus 5 plus minus 4 square root of 5. Am I going too fast?
There's more.
Yeah, you have to solve for x. course, you have to solve for x. So then I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. So I'm going to put it in the front. So that's equal to 2x equal to minus 5 plus minus 4 square root of 5. Now I'm going to divide it by 2 on each individual term. So for me, I'll divide it by 2 here, I'll divide by 2 here, I'll divide by 2 here. Remember, you can write down 1, 2, but you still have to split. So it's going to be x equal to negative 5 over 2 plus minus 2 square root of 5. And that's your final answer. That means negative 5 over 2 plus 2 square root of 5 and negative 5 over 2 minus 2 square root of 5. So there are two separate answers here. Sometimes you have to deal with i's. I'm going to show you how to deal with i's. So sometimes you're going to get a question like this. X equal to square root of, is equal to 20? Negative? Right? So what do I do? X equal to what? Plus minus square root of negative 20, right? Now please understand, square root of negative 20 is going to break up to two things. Negative 1 and 20. And I'm going to break that up. I'm going to write in red so that way you can see. Is negative 1 here. What is square root of negative 1? I. So you're going to make sure you have an I here. And then plus minus x equal to that, square root of 20. Am I going too fast? Because that's going to be square root of negative 1 times square root of 20 is equal to square root of negative 20. And then I is going to be plus minus I. This one you can take out 2 and 5. And that's my answer. X equal to I, 2 square root of 5. Yes?
Where did you get I though? Because the original problem.
The original problem doesn't, right? But suppose before x squared equal to 9, this one's x squared equal to negative 20. If I square root both sides, I'm going to square root of both sides. I'm going to get plus minus, right? But square root of negative 20, you have to break down to two pieces. Square root of negative 1 times square root of 20. Anytime you have a negative radical, that means something to do with I. So this part is going to give me I. Square root of negative 1 is I. Change it to here. Square root of 20 is going to simplify. X equal to plus minus I times 2 square root of 5. That's my answer. You have to make sure every time you square root a negative number, you're going to have I. Got it? Okay, so we're going to give you a question. It says 2x plus 2 squared plus 1 equal to, let's change this to 3, and that's changing this to negative 119. Okay? The only thing you have to deal with is the I. You have to learn how to deal with that I. Square root of negative 1 is I, so you have to pay attention to that. Try it. Well, you guys post things so quickly. You could have finished this problem. See? Que tú quieres? I'm going to finish this problem. I'm going to subtract 1 on both sides. I'm going to get 3x plus 2 squared is equal to negative 120. Divided by 3, that's going to be x plus 2 squared equal to negative 40. I'm going to get x plus 2 is equal to plus minus square root of negative 120, or square root of negative 40. That's equal to plus minus square root of negative 1 times 40. X plus 2. X equal to negative 2 plus minus I square root of 40. I can simplify that. X equal to negative 2 plus minus 2I square root of 10. What?
It's for a field trip, and I think my teacher's too